Okay, so today I'm going to do a tutorial on how I graded my last video using my film journal Cinevintage LUT. And real quick, I'm not an expert at LUTs, but to my understanding, it allows your footage to be shifted and changed by taking the color pixels and shifting it to a different spot in the color space. Therefore emulating different film stocks or cameras and other looks. Also, LUTs open up portals to other dimensions, and these little yellow ghouls come out, and they, you know what? That's a conversation for another time. So let's get to it. Okay, so I open up my footage, and there are no effects on these clips below. And once I've picture locked and I'm ready to start color grading, what I typically like to do is place an adjustment layer over all the clips as so. And the reason why I do that is because I want to put the LUT in this adjustment layer because it will affect all the other clips down below. There are a number of ways of doing it. Like some people like to color correct first and then apply the LUT. I like to apply the LUT first, see how it affects the footage, and go from there. So I'm just going to click on the adjustment layer. And if you go to the right side of Adobe Premiere Pro, you'll see the Lumetri color panel. And there are two ways of inputting LUTs. You can do it by the basic color correction over here. That's the first option. And it says Input LUT, and you just click on the drop menu, and you can either choose the LUTs that Adobe gives you or install some of your own. I like to use the creator panel because you can increase or decrease the intensity of the LUT, and I think that's pretty powerful. So we're going to go to this drop panel under Look. We're going to go to Browse, and then we're going to select the Film Journal Cinevintage LUT. And if you notice, it says Rec 709, and that's because it's the standard look. From my camera. I did not shoot S-Log. The setting was, I did use PP8 on my Sony a6500, but instead of S-Log 3, the gamma was changed to Cine 4, and the color was Pro, because that was the most natural looking color profile, in my opinion, and that is Rec 709 footage, which is a standard look in the color world, I guess. Again, I'm not an expert, but that is to the best of my understanding. So I'm going to select that LUT, open, and right off the bat, just notice how it affects the clip, and just kind of scrub through, see what it does to other scenes. So obviously this clip is different to that clip and to that clip, but overall, this is the tone I want to achieve. And real quick, my Film Journal Cinevintage LUT has a very subtle effect because it raises up the blacks and softens the highlights to give that cinematic vintage feel. And there's no changes to the white balance or the saturation. That's all done afterwards. And so it's a pretty universal LUT that can be applied to any footage, and then you can tweak it if you want it more warm or cold afterwards. So let me show you how to do that. Okay, so adjustment layer, I got my Film Journal Cine LUT, and I'm gonna lower the intensity to 80%. Just so notice how it changed the blacks over here. So it's more faded at 100%, and then you get to see a bit more detail at 80%, and I think that's a good balance. Okay, cool. So now I'm gonna go to basic correction. And I'm going to go from the top down. I'm not going to do anything to the white balance. I'll leave it as is. But let's start with exposure. You know what? I'm going to keep the exposure the same. I'm going to increase the contrast probably about there. Highlights just a tad. Shadows I'll probably bring up as so. Whites I'm going to bring down probably over here. Mind you, this is 8-bit footage, and what that means is that in the highlights right over here, 8-bit footage typically has a lot of banding in the highlights, like in the sky or whatever, and if you change it too much, it just looks like this weird unnatural looking thing. And so the best way to fix that is to get a good balance of the whites and highlights. So that's pretty good right there. And that's the cool thing about this LUT, is that it doesn't do too much to the highlights, it just softens it just a bit. And then lastly, I got the blacks, just kind of right there, and just kind of take a look overall. And I think that's pretty good. There we go, that's a good look. Okay, cool. So let's see how it applies to the other clips. Okay, there, that's fine. We'll make some changes later. There. So what you want to do, just get a good overall feel of the piece and see if it's to your liking. Okay, so I think that's pretty good. And so now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to change or adjust each clip separately. And it's much more efficient than adding a LUT in each clip and then adjusting. It just takes way more time. So I'd rather put the LUT, have it the same throughout, and then changing each clip accordingly. So in this case, maybe just bring down highlights a little bit. Next clip, I'll just run through it real quick. Let's bring down exposure. It's pretty good. Contrast, that's cool. Highlights, there you go. That's pretty good. Let's move on. Here we want to increase the exposure. That's pretty cool. And you can take your time on it. I'm just kind of rushing through just to give you an example to help you out. And you just keep using this method throughout your editing until you get the look that you desire. And that's pretty much it. Again, the cool thing about these LUTs is that it doesn't do too much to your footage. It just gives you a foundation of achieving that cinematic vintage look, and then you can change it from there. So that's the cool thing about these LUTs. So again, there are many ways of using LUTs, different methods. So this is how I do it. So just use this as a proxy, and just color grade to your preferences. And so yeah, I hope this is helpful to you guys. And if you are interested in getting these LUTs, go ahead, check out the link in the description below. I'd appreciate that. Definitely supports videos I do here. And if you have any other questions about filmmaking, how to use these LUTs, camera gear, I honestly love answering those questions and helping people out. So you can hit me up on YouTube, on my Instagram or Twitter, and have fun with these LUTs. All right, guys, take care, and I'll catch you later.